Kelly, before I let you introduce yourself, I just want to take a moment to thank you for being here today. I just reached out to you on Instagram and that was very straightforward and natural. And you were just so kind and interested about the project. You're the very first guest of the Visual Mass podcast. So thank you. And it's very meaningful to me to give a voice to a woman first. And especially a visual artist that is very talented like you. This project, I would say, is it's very personal first because I was trying to like create a link with people and bring people together, but I couldn't find the right way to do it as an artist. And also, one thing that I realized, and I was more a general thought, is that we are missing a platform that can give the voice, but like deeper to visual artists. So we have so many platforms, so many great platforms about musicians.
Yes.
And they have that space where they can talk about themselves and talk about their journey, but we're missing that. So it's really meaningful to be there today and to have you on this podcast. And we here in this amazing Shell studio. The first thing I want to ask you is who you are first and what's your background?
Of course. Thank you really so much for having me. I've never done anything like this. I think it's really cool that you're trying to give voice to visual artists, especially because I love visual art. And I listen to podcasts all day long, and there's not enough art podcasts to consume. It's amazing that you're putting this out there. My name's Kelly. My full name's Kelly Rose Adams, which is what I go by on all of my art platforms. I've been making art for a very long time, since I was a kid, but I was formally trained at OCAD University. I took drawing and painting. I graduated there in 2018 and then have been slowly building up my studio practice since then, always with full-time jobs. And then just recently, I have transitioned to working a part-time job so that I can be in the studio more and really dedicate myself to what I want to do, which is painting full-time eventually.
Yeah. How have you found that transition from a job that keeps you very busy? And how did you manage to find time to open up your creativity and really, really have that moment with yourself where you can focus on your art?
Yeah. It's hard because I find the routine of having a full-time job in the past sometimes good because it would force me in the evenings and the weekends to make the work. But I found that the mental energy that I was giving to my full-time job, sometimes I could physically drag my body to the studio after, but my cup was empty of things to do.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to take the leap to do the scary thing, to make slightly less money, to just have the time to be in the studio relaxed and in the morning too, where I find I'm the most creative in the morning and I can actually sit with my thoughts and make something that I'm more proud of instead of just pushing forward for the sake of pushing forward on art.
Do you find that you have like more creativity in the morning, and how do you prepare yourself in the morning to tune into your art and like try to avoid as many thoughts as possible that are not related to your art? When you wake up, you can really get distracted easily by everything in your environment.
It's tricky. I really do well with routine, I think. So that's why it's really helpful for me to, I love this studio space. It's shared space that's not at home, where obviously it's a little bit of an extra expense to have an external space to come to. But even just, I live a 5-minute walk away, and the commute to work, I'm coming to work here, is really helpful to get in the mind space of I've come here to make things. I find that there's almost two different modes for me, where I could have an idea anywhere, like when I'm out, when I'm not working, and I write them down, or I take a photo while I'm out in the world. And that is spontaneous and happens whenever. The ideas come at any time. But the thing that I need to carve out is the time to think about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then the physical time to be here and make the work, which is my favorite part. Sometimes I find the creative brainstorming to be the hardest thing. Where sometimes I just want to come here and put on my headphones and paint all day and not think about why I'm doing it, because it's my favorite thing to do.
Yes.
So it's really just a balance of giving myself the time to do all of those things, because there's so many different parts of having a creative studio practice.
What did you find that was the best thing for you to like focus and tune into your moment?
Ooh, that's very interesting. I find, you've heard people talk about flow, like the state of creative flow. I find the easiest way to get into that is to distract my brain in some other ways, like with music or like with podcasts. I love listening to podcasts when I work, and it feels like it occupies the chatter in my brain that might be distracting, where then my body can just be doing what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
I've tried all sorts of different things, but yeah, I've really found that headphones and noise is what keeps me in the painting.
I used to do that a lot too, and especially in the morning. It's a different sensation than if you were doing it randomly in the afternoon after everything that could have happened to you and like stuff that you could not control and that maybe affected your creativity.
Yes.
They are not there yet. So you have your moment with yourself.
Yeah.
It's very precious.
I like what you said about before you give it to something else.
Yeah.
Because you think, oh, I've carved out this hour at the end of the day, that's when I'll do it. But you don't get to decide when you're actually going to be creative. I do find too that sometimes, I was talking about this a little bit before, but the place where I come up with paintings, like the things I'm going to paint, is the creative space. And then I almost feel like when I'm actually making the paintings, because I paint representationally from photos, I almost don't even think of it as being creative. It feels more like a physical task that I love doing, like a repetitive kind of like, I really like knitting as well. And I like knitting because I'm physically doing something and I'm not really thinking about it. Like I am sitting here, I know what I want to paint. It's going to take me many, many hours and I just get to be in it.
Yeah.
And I almost think of that as a different space than being creative and coming up with the ideas. Even though things happen with paint and it's fun and things come about that you wouldn't plan. But because my stuff is representational, it really does just feel like putting a puzzle together or something, where it's like, no, it's a task that I've given myself because I love it.
The feeling I got from the paintings when I first ended up on your Instagram account is that it's giving an extremely vivid and vibrant picture. You can turn a very everyday side into something even poetic. And like, we want to know more about those individuals.
Love hearing what other people think, because being a painter too, I'm sure you're alone with your stuff all the time, where it's easy to go a long time not hearing about what other people see. So it's really nice to hear. I have only really started working on this body of work that I'm currently doing maybe in the last year or two, where previously when I was in school, I was really excited about coming up with kind of surrealist, metaphorical, visual ideas, where I'd almost think of something I wanted to represent and then think of, oh, it could be an extra head and a creative, but I found, especially during COVID, I wasn't coming up with ideas, metaphorical ideas that I was excited about anymore. It felt like I was really forcing it. Like maybe I would have an idea that I want to represent anxiety in a painting, or like the feeling of something. And I felt like in that moment, probably because everything was stressful in the world then, I wasn't coming up with things that I felt evoked what I wanted them to.
Yeah.
So I really pivoted, and instead of trying to dig into my own brain to come up with an visual idea, I started looking around me instead. and trying to really just notice what naturally appeared to me as beautiful, and maybe still little metaphors and little small beautiful moments from reality, and really focus in on those and see what inspiration I can draw from them instead of trying to draw inspiration out of myself. So I have a lot of my portraits here. I love painting portraits. I have also started to paint more just unposed still lives of real things that I see, or like street scenes when I see something where the light is really beautiful. Or there's one of my favorite paintings is of a flower behind my husband's ear that he just put there, and I was like, that's painting. I didn't think of that idea, but it appeared. And then I take a photo. I always work from just cell phone photos because that's what I have, because I don't go out with the intention of looking for paintings. But I would take a cell phone photo, and then when I translate it to a painting later, it feels like I'm trying to bring out the feeling of that moment with color, where that's when you're talking about the bright colors and stuff, that's because maybe those beautiful dreamy colors don't exist in reality, but that's how it feels
to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm not painting hyperrealism. It's always kind of hazy, weird light. And then when I look back on it, it feels like, yeah, that's the moment that inspired me. That's what it felt like. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Do you emphasize those vivid and intense colors, or is it what you see from the picture?
It's definitely both, where sometimes I think if there's a thing out in the world that looks especially beautiful to me, it's likely bright colors and something that caught my eye because it was already beautiful. But very often I will either go into Photoshop and physically think I want more pink and more blue because that's what it feels like. But sometimes it just happens through my palette, where maybe this photo that I'm emulating is all bland, neutral colors. But because I have my favorite pigments that I use all the time, it just happens that it turns into my palette world. I don't always plan it beforehand. And I didn't plan to have everything be pink and blue.
Yeah.
But that's just what I love. So that's what happens.
Yes, interesting. You don't come from a place where you have an idea and you want to translate it into a painting. You just naturally interact with your environment.
Yeah.
And you don't think first, but then the idea comes from what you saw during the day or that picture you took. Most of the time, what you saw during the day and the memory you have about it, subconsciously, it's going to be represented in your painting, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you take a picture of someone and then when you look at the picture afterwards, you have your own impression and your own feeling about that specific moment, and then you just let your creative world talk and like put that on the canvas, and you just don't really have to think about it because it's just a moment of your memory.
Yeah, I really love that description of it. I also really like the idea of working in series as a way of not limiting yourself, where this is what I'm excited about right now, is letting things come to me and working from photos. But some of the art that I love the most from other artists is the made up, surrealist, very creative scenes. And I would love to go back to that sometime in a different series of work, maybe once that becomes exciting to me. I know it can be tricky as a working artist. You think, oh, I need to find my niche thing, and that's what I do now. And I will keep going with the way that I'm doing things for as long as it's inspiring. But then I like the idea of being able to pivot to a different body of work if you want to start doing something else.
That idea of limiting ourselves because people know us in a specific way, it's very challenging as an artist today because we we relate on and we rely on people's admiration for our work, and it's very hard, it's very challenging to be in that space where you want to experiment, but at the same time, you don't know if people are going to understand.
Yes. And experimenting opens you up to making mistakes.
Exactly.
Which, if you are trying to be a professional working artist, can be scary. Where I know that I can take a photo of a person and turn it into a nice painting of them. But if you try to do something else, I feel like it can be very difficult to give yourself permission to, if I try something else, it might be really bad. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad artist. I would really like to start experimenting more, I think, because I used to have more limited time when I was working a full-time job. I feel like there was no experimentation because I only have maybe 6 hours in a week to do my painting. So I'm going to do something that I know will succeed for myself, that I know I'll like at the end, where I would never spend my golden Saturday that I get to paint trying something else. But I'm excited to do that more in the future.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense what you just said about you would rather start creating something that you're familiar with than experimenting because of lack of time.
Yes.
And you also want to showcase some artwork. So you know that you're limited with time and you have to post and you have to show that you're doing something. We are rushing the process because we know that people expect something from us. And we expect something from ourselves too. We expect to put the art out there so people can see it, you know. And if we are painting in the dark and experimenting things in the dark and we don't want to showcase it yet because we're unsure about how it's going to look like, then people don't know that we're actually working.
I'm trying to, when we were talking about routines earlier, I'm trying to almost structure my day where I give myself maybe an hour to do the experimentation stuff. I'm working on, I have a show in 6 months, the Artist Project, which is a big Toronto show where artists get their own booth. It's like an art fair where you fill up the booth yourself. And that's a deadline where I know I want to make like 15 paintings or something. So that's almost needs to become a separate, I'm going to go make that work. But then there needs to be other time for playing where it might not make it into the show. It might not be something that I post, but I'd like to make art forever. And if you're going to do it for the rest of your life, you need to make sure you're nourishing the creative things that come to you.
And not feeling trapped with time, because it's really nice to be able to showcase your art in a gallery, but if you spend your time experimenting and that's not painting that you are comfortable in showcasing and selling, then what are you going to showcase? It's really interesting what you say, that you were able to find a separate time for different disciplines and different experimentations.
I really like very often taking the time to ask myself why I'm doing it at all, like why I'm making any art. Because if you go too far the way of, this is how I make stuff, this is what is marketable, this is what people expect of me, if you keep going like that, I feel like it becomes, well, why are you even doing it? You may as well be making something else if you just become a factory. I try to think about that too when there's certain commissions that maybe, this doesn't happen very often, luckily, but sometimes people will come to you as an artist and they'll have an idea, they want you to paint a commission, and it really doesn't fit in what you do. And that's really hard to turn down. But you need to think, well, why am I making art? It's because I want to express something, not just to make money, not just for the physical act of painting. It's because I love the whole organism of it, and you need to nourish it all and not just push forward for the sake of it.
Yes, that's very interesting. And what you just said about people coming to you and sometimes having different ideas, and they think you're very skilled at making portraits, and they're going to ask you to paint someone's portrait, but with some specific technique, or like that might be very specific, and like picky about what they want, and you don't want to make out to please everyone, and that's not the goal.
Yeah.
And you have your unique style, and I feel like people can very much understand that and come to you for that specific style.
Yeah.
What was the challenging moment to you where you had maybe at some point a thought that you were not aligned with what you were making? Did you ever have that feeling?
Yes, definitely. A few times with commissions. And I only bring that because I know so many of my artist friends, especially people who have other jobs and they're just trying to do art to make anything happen with it. It can be really difficult to turn something like that down because you're so grateful that people want anything by you. But there's certain things where, oh, somebody's asked me to paint. I'm trying to think of something that doesn't fit with me at all, like an abstract. And that's not what I do. I will do a bad job. But I did give into it a few times in my early career where you're just like, oh, thank you so much for coming to me. But you really need to step back and think, but why? This isn't what I want to be doing. Luckily, I haven't been doing that too much lately. I feel like I've gotten better at defining what I want to do. There was another time, maybe several years ago, when I was still trying to push forward on the kind of surrealist stuff. And I really had a moment then of like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Why am I doing this? Where it's nice now to have something that I'm excited about doing every day. An idea that I feel like has a lot of legs that I can dig into forever. Well, forever. We'll see how long until I need a new idea.
Yes, hopefully it's gonna last forever. Yeah, I like that. What's your first memory and maybe your first breakthrough during your artistic journey?
Oh, I like that question. So my first, obviously I've always made art. I started taking art classes when I was like 9 years old. But I found when I was a kid, it was really just an activity. And it wasn't really, it's not like I felt like, wow, I'm really good at this. It was really just something that I was doing because I liked it. And then I went to OCAD because it seemed like the degree that I would have the most fun with. But it wasn't really until maybe it was my third year at OCAD, and I did, they have a Florence program. I don't think they do it anymore, but where you got to go to Florence for a whole school year and just spend time in the studio. And that, because it was uninterrupted studio time for 8 months, I feel like I had a bit of a breakthrough then. And it came from experimentation and then finding stuff that I was really excited about. It was portraits at the time then too. And that was the first time that it felt like I was doing stuff because I had more ideas than I had time, instead of, oh, I'm an art student, so I should, I guess, go to the studio now and think of something.
What is something for you, like a big takeaway that has transformed your artistic career by going to school?
I feel like the biggest thing I got out of school was just friends that make art too, which you don't need university for. Like, I loved my time at OCAD. It was so great for me personally. But the biggest thing that I notice now, being 7 or 8 years out of school, is really just the community that I got from it, where my best friends paint too, and we get to talk about painting all the time. And I met them there. But you can meet those people anywhere if you just put yourself in creative spaces. Did that answer that question?
Yes, it does. It does, definitely. Making like meaningful connections. And well, you kind of have to, because you're in school and you're sharing the space with other artists, so obviously connections are going to happen. It facilitates that connection between people. So it's really nice that you emphasize that first as the takeaway from school.
But if people were not in a position to go to art school, joining a studio or like even taking art classes, going to gallery things, I feel like you can get the same outcome if you look for it.
Yes, thank you for bringing this up, because sometimes it's just hard to put yourself out there and go talk to people. How easy or difficult was it for you when you started networking and like approach people and talk about art? Can you tell us about that?
Definitely, because it doesn't come naturally to me. Like I remember when I was in school, the big question that people always have is like, oh, how do I get gallery representation? Do I just email galleries? And you always hear from your professors like, no, it's about making connections. And it felt very, very foreign to me and difficult to show up places and go up to strangers and say, but then I've realized more recently that that's not what works for me. It wasn't really about pushing myself to do the hard thing. It was finding a way that was natural for me. It had to be something that I was excited about, which is smaller groups of people. Maybe going to gallery shows with a friend and talking about the artwork, and you more naturally meet their friends and other people that you know, in where finding more organic connections. The times I do have to push myself is when I meet somebody who I maybe want to be friends with or be art friends with. You have to push yourself to be social. But I've really found that just looking for the actual things that feel good, which is maybe not for me. It's not going up to strangers and saying, what do you think about the artwork on the wall? But I found other ways to make sure I'm putting myself out there in a way that feels exciting and fun and not terrifying.
Yes. And maybe more meaningful to you as a person, because we all have a different approach. First of all, we all have a different approach about how we connect with people.
Yes.
Whether it's about art or not. And I've seen artists who are very comfortable with introducing themselves and their work. First thing that they're going to do when they meet someone, they're just going to introduce their work and say, oh, that's what I do, and we can connect if you want.
I definitely know artists who it is natural for them to lead with themselves and be really, really outgoing. And it works for them and it's great. But I just know that that is not how I want to move through the world. So I've tried to find ways that align with who I am more.
So at some point you mentioned that you have friends and you also have art friends.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that there is similarity between your friend and art friend?
That's so funny. I've never really, that's the first time I've said out loud that happens. But obviously you have your close friends that I don't care if you're an artist or not. If you're my friend, you're my friend. But then you see people who are doing interesting things. You go to a group show and you love somebody's art. And I want to talk to them about art. It maybe doesn't mean that we're going to be like best friends, like your close circle. But I have found if I really identify, especially with an artist in Toronto, and then I see their stuff, making a connection with them and staying connected, following their art journey, really helps me feel like I'm part of a community in Toronto. Even if we don't have anything else in common, we can connect on the fact that I like your art.
Yes, which is already a deep connection.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean too about going out with the intention of just making friends and connections versus networking. Like, it doesn't feel like networking if you genuinely connect with someone.
I've seen that you have a Etsy account. And I've seen that you have some friends on your website too. Tell us about the very first sale and how it was for you to put a price tag on your canvas.
It's hard. Part of the reason that I have prints is because I can keep print prices low. And I like that you can have accessible, like anyone that connects with my stuff could buy a print, where it is different pricing and original artwork. What I did initially when I first graduated and I had to put prices on things, I came up with a formula, like a mathematical formula, because then you know that it is fair, where a painting this size is length times width, and then you pick a number that feels good and multiply so that you know that all your numbers are cohesive for size of painting. But the way I came up with my number was to think about what value the painting had for me. Would I be sad to let this go for this price? And if the answer was yes, then I had to up the price a little bit. It's very difficult to raise my prices. I think I've been told they're very low. But right now, they feel like I can sell paintings, even original paintings, to people my age that are in my community. It's difficult to decide to price out people. Yeah. But that's what prints are for, where I know that you do need to eventually value your own work enough to say, no, it's worth a little bit more.
Have you ever had a situation where you had to explain your price and someone ask you for a discount?
People aren't necessarily aware of how expensive original art is. So it doesn't really offend me if people say, oh my God, that price for that thing. Where people who often look at original art understand that it comes with a price. Discounts is tricky because if somebody loves it, you want to be able to give it to them. But I pretty firmly just know that right now my prices are, I consider them fair.
You're already being generous with your time, and then when the price is explained by the fact that you had to buy art supplies, that you had to put the time and the effort and the energy for hours and even weeks and months. It's almost like you have to explain why you're doing that and why you're being creative, you know. The right people will come to you, and like people who vibe with your work and like get a very intense feeling or emotion with your work. They will not think about the price necessarily. They will just think about what it makes them feel when they have that piece of art in their own home.
Feels amazing. I'm always so grateful whenever anybody buys anything. It's like an incredible feeling. I also need to remember sometimes that it's okay if stuff doesn't sell right away. Like maybe I've made this big painting and it costs several $100s. It's okay if it lives with me for several years until it finds the right home, especially because it lets me hold on to my artwork if I need to. You don't need to be coming up with like sales pitches and things. It can just find the right home when it needs to. And I totally understand if somebody's doing it full time, you need to make a living. You need to do things to put yourself out there and sell your stuff. It's a hard balance between the sales part of it and the art side because they feel so completely different.
And I wish we had more resources. And I think that's where oftentimes people go to galleries so the gallery can do the job on their behalf. But it's not accessible to everyone. Not everyone can showcase their artwork yet. So finding the tools and finding the right thing to do at the right time is super hard.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not currently represented by a gallery either, where I can completely see the value in that if you're able to get represented, to, in theory, just be able to focus on the making and not the other side. I do enjoy sometimes making websites, being organized, having that more business side of it. But it does need to be a balance between thinking about that stuff as the structure that then allows me to be in the studio, because you can't just be a little hermit in the studio making stuff all the time, never sharing it, never being professional enough to have it presented nice on your website, because no one will ever see it ever. You don't get to make the connections where I know they need to support each other, I think.
Did you find a difference when you got a chance to connect with galleries? How did that leverage your ability to sell art?
I haven't ever been formally represented as in like a contract where only one gallery gets to sell my paintings, but I've been in different group shows Northern Contemporary is a gallery in Toronto that I really love. They put on really accessible for emerging artists group shows that you can be a part of. And I like that because it just connects you to people that I would never know. People who come to that gallery and they might buy something, they might not, but now they have seen your stuff and you get to use that gallery's network to find people that you connect with. I don't know what it is like though, just because I haven't been properly represented, to have the more formal like relationship where a gallery that takes 50% of everything. I would hope that if it was a healthy relationship that they would be doing the business for you and you get to be separate, which would be a good thing to get to eventually. I'm really liking the way I'm doing things now though, where I sometimes sell things through group shows, but mostly sell things myself, and I get to physically give the painting to the person that buys it. I think it's good for this stage of my career.
What would you say to your past self who is just starting having some creative thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I like that question. I wish, I think I had very high expectations of myself from the beginning. I really wanted to do a good job. And I can see how limiting that is. And that really just came from myself. There was no one telling me that I had to make perfect things. But I think art was one of the first things that I was good at. And then it becomes your identity. Like, oh, I'm the kid that's good at this. Where maybe that pushed me to keep going. But I do wish I could tell myself to be a little bit gentler with myself when I was younger, that it's okay if things take a long time and are not perfect.
Yeah, nice. Are you able to visualize where you want to be in your career in 5 years?
Yeah, I think I can. That is one thing that I really like about being an artist, is that you get to envision that for yourself. It's not like having a different career where it's like, I hope for a promotion, and like you get to decide where you want to take it. I would love, the goal always is just to have more time in the studio, where if I'm able to continue that and hopefully work less at other jobs and work more on my own stuff, I'd love to see where that takes me. I love being in a shared studio space like this one, where I think I always want that. I used to think, oh, wouldn't it be so amazing to have a big, beautiful home and my studio is a whole floor? But I think I always want to be in a building with other artists. Right now, I still really like being self-represented. If that was sustainable going forward, I think that would be really fun to keep doing shows like the Artist Project and doing everything myself. If that becomes, or if it stays sustainable, I just want to keep going. I just want to keep painting. I don't know what it will look like in 5 years though.
Yeah.
Hopefully just more painting.
Yes. I'm going to ask you a series of 5 questions.
Okay.
And the goal is that you answer with one word.
Oh, okay.
If you could choose to spend the day with one artist, who would it be?
Ooh. She's passed away, but Mary Pratt. She's a Canadian hyperrealism painter.
Name a song that could be the reflection of your art.
Oh, I don't know. Let me think. I need to think harder. I can cut this part out. Sea of Love.
Sea of Love? Who is the artist?
I like the one by Cat Power. It's my wedding song.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's just really romantic, important song to me.
One thing you'd like to achieve with your art?
More time. I really just want to keep doing it. Yeah. So by striving to succeed more, it's really just to be able to do it more. I just want to be in the studio.
What was your dream career as a kid?
I wanted to be a veterinarian. I didn't know you could be an artist, really, until I was older. I do have an aunt who is a very successful, amazing artist. But even then, I was like, oh, I can never be like her. But now that's my dream career.
Love it. Name your favorite piece of art.
These are things that I should have answers to.
It's maybe not a question that everyone asks you every day.
I know. I have so many. Can we come back to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the last question though.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna spend 1 minute looking more to see if it comes back to me.
Break.
So many of the artists that I love are like local artists in Toronto, and it feels very funny to be like my friend's painting. But that's the stuff that I love. Do you know Jen Mann? Oh, she's a Toronto artist. I love her paintings. She was the first artist that I saw her stuff and was like, oh my God, you can do things like that. But she lives like in Toronto. It feels very funny.
I guess you answered the question.
I can answer it better for I really can't think of anything yet.
It's okay.
My friend Gwendolyn Brown is an artist in Toronto, and she has a painting of her bed when we shared a bedroom when we were in university. And that really is my favorite. I wish I owned it, where it feels like an encapsulation of artists that I love and admire and a moment that I connect to. And I think about that painting all the time.
And,
yeah. Am I allowed to have my best friend's painting be my favorite piece of art?
It's an amazing answer.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to share with us about your journey, or any memory you have, or anything that you think about right now that you want to share with us?
Ooh. I wish that more people felt comfortable making art. I think people say all the time that they wish they could do it. And I really don't think that there is inherent talent in it. I think a lot of people could benefit from trying it. And I wish people did.
So really, really nice advice. And yeah, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure to talk about your creative journey and dig into what made you as an artist. It was really, really interesting.
Thank you so much.
Of course, I'll put the link of your website in the comment section so people can just discover your work and interact with you. I hope that this conversation that we had today will help them in their creative journey as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. There's so many things that you brought up that I've never really thought that hard about, and I really appreciate you asking.
It was amazing. It was really amazing. Thank you.